Good morning and welcome to the Capital Gang. I have in the studio the first one this morning, a very excited Joseph Otieno, or excited about a rare UPC win. Keyword in this submission is rare. Good morning, Joseph. Congratulations.
I will not accept that. The trend, the formal, the expected, this landslide, the victory, the future. Uganda People's Congress for everybody. I am delighted to be here, Oscar. As ever, I keep time. Number one, always, ever. But I delight seeing you.
Yeah.
And everybody here.
I knew that you fill in the descriptions and accolades and everything. So well done. Congratulations on that win.
No, thank you very much. It's one that tells that in this country it is possible to have elections. It's possible for democracy to prevail. It's possible for issues to win. It's possible for very ordinary people like those people in Dokolo to have their say. And it's possible that in this country it's possible to beat NRA when issues prevail and common sense prevails and soldiers stay in the barracks and the police observe, and that's really what happened. But again, it's also possible when you have fantastic candidates like Sarah Aguti, Mrs. Nyankor, and when they go and they deliver the UPC way, people see it. And it's also possible that you can look at a place like Dokolo, which was part of Lira South those days, that delivered Teddy Odongo Duka, the only then female member of parliament in 1980, and that Teddy gave excellent services, offered excellent services. They opened schools and they equipped them.
I've come to this studio this morning with my daughter. So when you talk about Teddy, 1980,
she's absolutely fantastic. Yes.
When you say 1980, Teddy, I know you some of these people get lost. Even the ones in the studio like Malcolm Bamizo.
I know even my brother Ibrahim is looking, wondering what this guy talking about. But I'm talking about real issues. Amazingly, actually, what was then relevant in 1980 is much more relevant today, and it will be much more relevant after Museveni and his crew retired, because it's very much about issues. Yeah.
We have Agatha Atuhaire. You're most welcome to the Capital Gang, Agatha.
Thank you, Oscar. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, you've been trending. You've been in the news lately. I thought I was going to see a large human being, and the one who's shaking Semoju. Semoju has written 2 articles already responding to you. So
I am glad I will respond today. I had not responded to any of the articles.
Yes. Agatha Atuhaire, daughter, mother, journalist, lawyer as well.
Yes.
All those things. Now you're seated right next to Malcolm Mpamizo, our resident Malcolm Mpamizo, lawyer as well. Most welcome to Capital Gang, Malcolm.
Thank you, Oscar.
Again.
A very good morning to you, to the gangsters of the day, and to our listeners.
I scanned through the list.
Which list is that, Oscar?
The cabinet list, and I was looking for Malcolm Mpamizo.
So did I.
So did you, because some of these things...
So did I.
For you, they would have given you for regional representation. Or Bachiga, or maybe
that's what I'm good for.
Maybe they are saving you for Bank of Uganda.
That is
because that one.
And we had ring fences at one point.
Yeah, US lot.
So maybe we should wait a little bit longer. Honorable Semuju, most welcome to Gang.
It's like
yes.
Morning.
Good morning to you. So how did Dokolo manage? I saw FTC vote is like a paltry 10,000 and NUP 7,000. And Joseph will remind you all the time that it was a landslide in Dokolo.
Just under 9,000.
I think they had underrated the UPC, thinkers.
The UPC power?
I now need to run for
Fantastic.
But when you work with NRM,
I had not seen that. That's where you're going.
They can allow you to...
Malcolm led him to that.
They can allow you to win some seats. Because in Parliament, UPC sits on the government side, but it also sits on the opposition side. I think they were the first group to work with NRM before I think the Honorable Mao signed the Memorandum of Understanding.
Yes.
That's why the NRM did not cheat in Dokolo, because the seat fell to an ally. I don't know if they are working together, because the last by-election they won, they were both using government vehicles and policemen. So I don't know how they sat down and shared who will use which facilities. But they were working together. So yeah, I congratulate them. I want to learn more on how NRM can allow you to win some seats if you work with them.
And the seats of DC has it worked with NRM?
If FDC has not been working with NRM.
But how has it won seats?
It started lately. Maybe elections will become less violent.
So, I mean, taking your analogy or taking what you're saying, where was the late Cecilia Ogwal sitting? Was she sitting on the NRM side or on the opposition side?
Cecilia Ogwal lived a unique life. In the last years of her life, she was not the Cecilia Ogwal of UPC. Because I remember one time we were surprised when we saw her with Chintu Musoke, and I don't remember who, that they had gone to meet Museveni as elders. I think her politics had changed, less confrontational, and maybe elders do it. So she continued being FDC, sitting together with us on the opposition side. But she was not the Cecilia Ogwal of yesterday.
Okay. Joseph, how did you do it? How did you get there? What particularly did you do?
No, I actually wanted to
but Oscar, the question
credit FDC.
Maybe for the benefit of listeners, because UPC are also two parties. So I don't know which faction is Ocheno. The faction that
Joseph Ocheno has spoken a lot that he's not in the Akena faction, and that they're going to win power very soon.
His faction.
His faction, yes.
No, Ibrahim was always very kind to me, and I wanted to respond this time round.
Yes, let me first welcome Lydia. Good morning, Lydia.
Morning,
welcome
Oscar.
to Gang. We've missed you well.
Yes, I was.
Sorry about your loss in Dokolo.
I don't think it was a loss.
So
What was
So you confirm what Semuju has been saying? It was not a loss.
It was not a loss, but I was in Dokolo, and I was happy that I was in Dokolo. So, good morning to our listeners and viewers, and I'm happy to be on the gang this morning. Greetings from Mombale City. They are very good fans of Capital Gang. Thank you, and they are listening in.
Okay, I hope Ofanopono is also on the way. We've saved a seat for him this morning.
Oscar,
Go on, Joseph.
I really wanted to be very generous to Ibrahim here and indeed FDC, but really for the purposes of this program. And by the way, yes, this is a fantastic program that I know is taken very seriously nationally. So I'll try to be, as usual, extremely objective. I was in Dokolo for a period of 2 days. But before I tell you more detail, I just want to respond for the purposes of FDC to be reasonably kind to them. I said that Cecilia Ogwal was a very great leader. She was a leader of UPC. I worked with her very closely. And Ibrahim is right. She changed from the Cecilia Ogwal of, say, 1993 to Cecilia Ogwal of 1996 to clearly Cecilia Ogwal, who passed on as a national figure. Indeed, she had been a national figure for a long time. In Dokolo, I told the voters, I told the citizens there that she was a great leader, and I worked with her, and may her soul rest in eternal peace. I also say that Rosemary, Cecilia's daughter, who was FDC candidate, is one of the most fantastic individuals and personalities we could have, and I wish maybe some way, somehow, UPC could find her a seat somewhere, and so that she joins the National Assembly, because she's robustly, absolutely a fantastic lady. She simply happened to have been a candidate for FDC post Cecilia in a place which is a predominantly...
So you also believe in hereditary politics?
No, I don't, and I'll come back to that quite safely. I'm talking about the individual, particularly because she's a woman. It's also very deliberate that young, fantastic people like Rosemary, many of those other female candidates, including NRA candidates in that place, I was suitably impressed with the hope that actually this country is possible beyond Museveni. There are many fantastic young people like Agatha here, who really are women with the capacity to genuinely lead this country out of the mess of NRA. The problem, though, in Dokolo was that it wasn't really about some of these personalities. It was simply that Cecilia had not been elected on the strength of FDC. Cecilia had been elected, Cecilia, the personality that Ibrahim is talking about. Cecilia, who had, some people had perceived that maybe she had been undone by UPC, which was not true because I know the story. And Cecilia, who had obviously lost in Lira municipality and had returned to her homeland in Dokolo. And people were looking for personality. And under this NRA regime, politics has been personalized and personal merit, personality, and money. So Cecilia easily won that place. She did not win it because of FDC. In fact, she could have stood on any political party ticket and won. Now that she left, the space was very clearly the UPC that I told you, which is the Grand of Lango, the Grand which is re-emerging, and the Grand that will re-emerge across the country. So in the course of the campaign, Ibrahim, I was able to meet people across the political divide. I managed to recruit and to get people changed from NRA into UPC. I must say that I got a couple of people, including a senior FDC leader, cross into UPC. On a talk show program like this, one particular caller happens to say that he was NRA and said because of my submission, together with my excellent panelists, they were going to vote for Sarah Aguti. So really the victory was based on the mess that NRA has had in the north, the fact that given a platform like this, you put UPC's program on the table, you put NRA's program on the table, you put FDC's program on the table, and particularly in northern Uganda, a constituency that was then led by Ted Odongo, as I was trying to say at the time. It will simply be that the majority of the people will vote UPC. And actually, let's watch this space. The entirety of Dokolo and possibly part of Amolata is going to return to UPC. Finally, that evening, I met an elder Oscar, and it is really touching. A gentleman, a Lango gentleman, who, after a slight drink, was telling me that, look, they have been humiliated. He said, our community used to have people with cattle in thousands. Now it is a privilege to find a few families with cattle in their hundreds. Lake Choga is now being occupied by NRA soldiers. Their fish, which is actually their natural fish, people can't fish there. If you look at the ordinary villages from one part of Kangai to maybe Otuboyo, Kangai to Amolata, you look at this grass thatched, not a problem. But you clearly see poverty. You see the Dokolo, Amolata, Namasale Road, which Comrade Museveni was very generous to respond to my positioning on the radio that, they're going to tarmac it. This is a road that I've been talked about on this program, that a place like Amolata, which is a sideline of Dokolo, has got no tarmac. And these NRA guys boast. So really, Dokolo was won purely on issues. Now, in terms of the interferences, after Bokedia, again in which I was, and again thanks to your program, we exposed the NRA from the extremes. And then after Oyam, where Mr. Museveni realized that, well, it was not in his interest to have a fight with the UPC. It is very clearly the case that in Dokolo, there was no way in which they were going to try. And to little credit to Jimmy, he actually also said it in many of his campaigns that they're going to guard their votes. Mr. Museveni knew he could not take in UPC. And by the way, on the record, it's absolutely not in the interest of NRA anymore.
Thank you.
To take on the UPC. Now, finally, on the question of UPC and Museveni, it is true, Jim McKenna and Beta Mongi and a few individuals in UPC. They're individuals working with Mr. Museveni. That's a matter of fact. I do not subscribe to them. It is also true that there is a Jim McKenna versus Walubiri UPC. Those are there. Thankfully for me, I'm too big for those factions. I represent the traditional, original, old UPC. And that UPC, once we're able to resolve our national leadership, we are going to give these NRA guys a beating. But whatever happens, I want to work with Semuju and all other political parties in the opposition, including sensible people like my sister here, Lydia, that we find a common ground in which we're able to help Mr. Museveni to retire peacefully so that we give hope and possibilities for the young people across this country, including the extremely poor ones in Dokolo that I found.
What a submission. I beg your pardon?
UPC has resurrected.
Amen.
Just, I'll have Lydia have final word on this one. But before you send the microphone to Lydia, maybe for the young people here who may not have followed the references of 1980, Agatha and Malcolm, just say to Joseph, yeah, congratulations, UPC, and then we send the microphone to Lydia, who was there.
Oscar, are you trying to say that I don't understand the politics
no,
of 1980?
You understand, but you are not old enough. You are not old
Lydia is a
enough.
lawyer. I mean, Agatha is a lawyer and a historian.
I think,
Okay.
Hold on, and Malcolm?
Malcolm,
I think yes, the congratulations would be in order because they did put up a good show. We cannot dismiss the fact that this was the Akena faction that was of UPC that was supporting the eventual winner. They were the face, and so just as Lydia said when she was getting onto the show, there is a general disappetite to declare this an NRM loss, because in any case there is a very clear working relationship between the NRM. Why the NRM put the UPC through the ringer in that election, I don't know. It could have been probably just for the optics.
I think that is very dangerously defeatist, and actually it sends a wrong signal to the country, meaning therefore that you can't defeat NRA unless you work with them, and for that I want to reject that.
I think that where I agree with you is that the late Cecilia Ogwal had developed a near cultic personality in Dokolo, that it was she that was actually carrying the victories, and certainly not the FDC. The area remains loyal to the UPC in general, but again, that is a UPC that is in a marriage bed with the NRM. We can't divorce the two from each other. So yes, the UPC is still strong in those areas, and we wait to see what that means, what that means for the community there, what that means for, because again, UPC positioning itself as an opposition party is expected to check government excesses. You know, it's supposed to provide alternative positions to the government programs. That doesn't seem to be coming out from any, especially from the UPC. It might be the numbers, it might be the MOU, but we do not see a UPC position itself as an opposition party, and that is something that we'll probably wait to say.
Lydia.
Dokolo. I was in Dokolo, so it's sometimes good to speak from what you see. I would like to start by congratulating Sarah Aguti for having won, let me add, landslide, the by-election in Dokolo. But I want our listeners to also know that Sarah contested in 2021. Yes. So she had been there, and she has been a community leader. She contested with the late Cecilia Ogwal, and she posted very good results. It was she's a competitive candidate. So on that, we give it to her. Because now, and when she lost to Cecilia, she didn't leave the community, because Cecilia had indicated that was her last term. Actually, the late Cecilia Ogwal, I was with her in the Women's Day from Mbarara City last year, and I drove in her vehicle when we were returning. She herself told me she was not going to go back to Dokolo. So Sarah had already known that she stood a chance for 2026. So she had remained in the community. So I congratulate her, but I think also we give it to her because she had begun that struggle and interest ahead of this unfortunate time that was cut short. To Rosemary Ogwal, I also want to congratulate her. I think it was a family emotion to conclude the mother's term of work, but most important, that she stayed within the party where the mother had contested. She was not an opportunist to say, Dokolo is UPC grounded, let me jump ship and join UPC so that I can win. No, she was not. She stayed in FD. She's a realist, okay, but also not an opportunist. Because even I saw many. The mother was, but I'm speaking from the background that I also attended. Let me finish, Oscar. Same with you. Let me finish. I am going to lose my point. Yeah, you'll give. I attended the Cecilia Ogwal's burial, and I could see many political parties leaders trying to get Rosemary to choose another party than where her mother had been. And for that, I want to congratulate, because I think, you join this party, you are better off. Don't join FDC. And she was like, no, when the family says I contest, I contest. And I think that family is going to continue supporting Dokolo. They call it Dokolo. Because the mother had ongoing projects like orphans. They are paying school fees for about 120 orphans. It's a foundation, and I could see that they are in it, and whether or not she has lost the election, they are going to support. And I think that's very good for the community in honor of her mother's legacy and where the mother comes from. Now, having said that, Oscar, I want also, it's good to go to a community, because what I saw in Dokolo is not just the strength of UPC, that's now a given, but the strength of the voice of elders.
Yeah.
Same with you.
Yes.
I don't know, you are a very good analyst, but you say Malcolm. I don't know which other community in Uganda still listens to elders. Finding youth seated in Lango, there is an elders meeting, and the elder says this is the direction, and whether you're a youth or they follow the direction. So no, I'm just saying what I saw. I don't know whether it's good. That's why I'm asking that you guys are using it elsewhere. Because what happened in Dokolo, you are talking about, of course, UPC is closed in the history of the elders as well, because the elders lived in the times of UPC, but they still have a stronghold on the community, which for me I found very interesting. They played a very big role in Agutwi's victory. Seamless. You would go to a community, they listen to you, you go away. Then when Akena is coming, they remove their cloth, they lay for him to live like a carpet. They get their chicken, they get their goat and give it to him. So this campaign wasn't about Sarah. Sarah Agut did her part, but there's so much about the decision of the elders on the direction they should take, but also UPC. And to say that it's not the UPC of Otieno here, it's not the UPC, the branding of Akena. They use the portrait of Obote.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah? They use the portrait of the late Obote, because Aguti was campaigning in her red gomas with the portrait of Obote, and all the shirts, even for Akena, because Akena, I missed seeing you, but it's Akena I found in the field. Up to the last radio, the TV, NBS talk show, I was with Akena. They done the branding of Little Bote, and it's so emotional, because when you go to people just break out crying. The women beat their breasts and tell Akena, be firm, be firm. You cannot win that. Be firm, be firm. So I wanted to give that narrative so that you understand that Lango is coming from that angle, and I do not see how another political party, because they have taken that route of branding. And I was in Oyam, I saw what happened. I've now been in Dokolo, and I see that is the narrative. So
thank you.
While we are speaking about political parties here, I think for Lango, that is the narrative, and the branding is working.
I want to ask you, because Joseph made some allegations.
For who? I was in Dokolo.
I'm putting the question to you. He said there's no tarmac in 2024. Dokolo does not have tarmac. He said getting fish is very, very difficult. He said those things just before you came in. And he said these are denials by the NRM party.
Dokolo. I accessed Dokolo from Eastern Uganda because if you all know, remember we were doing registration, so I drove through Teso. It's the first district as you enter Lango. They have good Maram roads. When you're coming in from Lida, it's all tarmac inside to Dokolo. Because again, I went to Lida because, as you know, there was the NBS talk show for the candidates. So we had to go to the city. But Dokolo, Cecilia Ogwal was the first member of parliament there. But there's the old guys, Felix Okotogong and then the others. We have been posting some NRM members of parliament for constituency. But for the woman MP, as you know, we had the elder who was no longer very aggressive, but I mean, she had built a stature of now an elder and a leader. So Dokolo is work in progress. It's a new district, and I've been around the country. There are not many districts that have pure maram all over, but at least there's, Katamak, but they have good maram. They have a headquarters where offices, and I think it's work in progress. And on the list of what they wanted, tarmac roads were one or two to access areas, but the biggest challenge, like you've had, was the management of, because they're also along a lake. That was the biggest undoing for anything NRM there, because there has been mismanagement according to the reports of the fisheries sector on the lake, and that's why the president came out to say he's going to review, and in June, May, is going to meet. You see how he also mentioned the elders, which had also captured the role of elders in that community. So he mentioned the meeting elders so that they can decide on whether to remove the UPDF, but also hand the lake to the elders, if you are following. So the role of the elders is so important because I think even the president picked it.
Okay.
And we paid some big price on the vote because of the management of the lake. There is a good cause for lake, but I think the management has issues. I also picked that from the community, and the anger and bitterness has even gone beyond just people quarreling. They are ready to fight. It is now very hostile from the community versus the UPDF. They're ready to fight, and I think that has to be handled and rectified. Yeah,
Agatha.
Yes.
So, Oscar, contrary to what you think, I know a lot about the politics of 1980, especially that I come from the Greater Bushenyi, where UPC.
Yes. And Google is your friend.
No. Yeah. Leave Google. I was actually asking recently, yesterday, when the UPC lady won, how UPC is still strong, like how they still think about Obote, who died many years ago, but also had left Uganda years back. Yet in Bushenyi now, it's hard to find a young UPC person. And as usual, Museveni was the one to blame for what happened in Bushenyi from the people I was talking to. But I wanted to say something about this election in particular, that we forget that Akena had a rally in Dokolo just before Cecilia died in January, and it had so many people. And actually after that rally, even in Amolata, the LC5 chairperson, who I hear wants to come to Parliament, asked Akena to go to his district and like sort of revive UPC. So Cecilia died at a time when that was happening. The rallies had happened, I think, in 3 areas, and they were massive. When Cecilia died and the daughter came, the people in Dokolo felt it was unfair. They had given all their support to Cecilia. I mean, entire Lango. Because Cecilia had come from Lira and gone to Dokolo, and they had still supported her. They thought it's unfair that now they want the other people they should support, because they had supported Cecilia in 2 constituencies. Now they shouldn't feel obliged to now support her daughter as well. Also, her daughter left this country in her teens. Yeah. They don't know her in Dokolo. So it was hard for you to impose. Of course, there's been this.
Joseph left this country in his teens as well. So
well, I think Rosemary returned after the death of her mother, and she had left much earlier. Studied in the UK, but so I think that's what made them think it's unfair for us
to
also
on the
now.
Ground.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to say is this hereditary politics. I was disappointed in FDC at first. You know, we like to condemn before we are the ones, because FDC had been condemning, and I'm going to ask Semju the same question he asks Joe, is which FDC fronted Rosemary? But you will answer later. So
He has answered. He was not in Dokoro.
We have been condemning hereditary politics from Serere to the late Olanyas and many others. But now, when it comes to opposition politicians, also now, I don't think that Rosemary was ever a member of the FDC. Now, does she become FDC by the virtue of her mother being FDC? But for people to miss that and not choose a candidate that was a UPC candidate probably in 2021 and go for still the hereditary politics that we have been trying to condemn, I found that...
so you think FDC could have chosen an FDC member?
Yes.
To stand.
Yeah, I'm sure they had a candidate in 2021. Yeah. Normally, there was... Oh, yes, sorry. Was there a candidate against Cecilia in your primaries? Because you see, that's... No, I'm not. There has always... No. So was she a member of FDC? Rosemary?
So, Agatha.
Hereditary politics.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Agatha, for that. But you're on microphone, Agatha, continue. Yeah. So, because the reason I invited you was the parliamentary exhibition, Uganda Parliament exhibition. So, first, how were you recruited onto the Uganda Parliament exhibition? You know, you've had vibrant young ladies in recent times, and I guess you qualify. You've already won an award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what is it? What inspired you to join the Uganda Parliament exhibition?
Where I was recruited, Oscar, was in journalism in 2011 after I graduated from journalism school. And I have been practicing journalism since then, first at the Independent and Uganda Radio Network and many other places, but now on Twitter. So I do journalism on Twitter now. Now, when I started journalism on Twitter, at first it was individuals doing their journalism and activism on Twitter alone, separately, but eventually we came together, a few of us that were doing that on Twitter, and started working together. And that's how the idea of exhibitions began. The Parliament exhibition was the 7th, if I remember correctly. I will not count those before that, but it was the 7th. And so that's how I was recruited. And every time we have an exhibition, we get someone who is more knowledgeable about the subject to lead it. I have so far led the NGO exhibition and also the Parliament, but we are always about 3 or 4 people doing that. Yeah.
And were you the lead person on the Uganda Parliament exhibition? We
were 2 leading. I think later Kakwenza, who hadn't been part of the exhibitions before, but has a lot of information about Parliament, became actually the one who has shared more information about Parliament. Yes, but initially I was...
Yes, how did it work? How were you... I guess you don't know to divulge secrets, but how were you getting contacts? Or information?
I was a parliamentary reporter. I have been since 2011. When I joined the newsroom, my first assignment was Parliament. I am sure Honorable Semuju saw me in the corridors.
It was his assignment as well, previously in his journalistic days.
By the time I joined as a reporter, he had already crossed the other side. So I
like the way you say to the other side.
Yeah. You know, in Parliament, us, the journalists sit in the press gallery, and so there are sides also, and the MPs.
But with the money revelations, you know that they are clearly the other side. So
yeah. There are sides always.
It was not a wrong term.
So I covered Parliament physically there between 2011 and 2016. And 2016, I had joined law school, so there was no time to... But I had sources. You know, I don't know if you know how journalism in the field works, or if you've been seated in studios all your life, Oscar. But you make contacts, you get sources, and those sources, you know, they never die. So when they see there's a gap, they reach out to you. They say, the journalists have not covered this story, but this is happening. And I kept covering Parliament even without being physically there. I haven't been accredited to cover Parliament since 2016, but I have been writing about it since then.
But in this era, as we'd say in Luganda, in this era of Anita Among,
Yes.
Getting such information and coverage is kind of brave.
Yeah. So when Anita Among came to Parliament first as Deputy Speaker in 2021, there was that gap that people saw. But because by the time Anita Among comes in, Rebecca Kadaga and Obore had made sure they make covering Parliament difficult. Because
even though Obore was a journalist.
Yeah, of course. The journalists are our biggest tormentors now in Parliament when they cross to the other side as well. So in 2013, two journalists wrote a story in The Observer that Rebecca Kadaga then didn't like and attempted to throw them out of Parliament. They went to court. It was Sulaiman Kakaire and David Lumu. And, of course, Kadaga respected the law, not like the one that is there now, and had no choice but to have them back. So they realized, I think, her and Obore, they came back to cover Parliament, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. It's just
First
that then I think they went to other things. They have both become lawyers now. But, so Obore now started writing to newsrooms to say, we do not want this journalist covering Parliament. That's how the Yasin Mugerwas leave Parliament. Many of the people, the journalists that they thought, so they gave themselves the duty to assign for newsrooms who covers Parliament. I remember we quarreled about that, but we didn't take it far. So by the time the 11th Parliament starts, there's already journalists that maybe are not good enough, are not competent enough, but also not experienced, lack institutional history. And now by this time, I am getting calls, but there are so many things happening, no one is covering them. Because in any system, even if you want to gag people how, they are going to be aggrieved about things and they are going to write them. So I started writing things they were telling me. It started by them passing laws without quorum. Honorable Semuju is here. I have him on record. I have that clip where he is asking, but why are we rushing through these laws? Because they pass a law in 1 hour. And he said they will... First of all, the consultations are not enough. The time you have attributed to the law, both in the committee, at the committee level and in Parliament to debate it, is not enough. He asked that when 7 bills, financial bills, were passed in a space of 3 hours. And he said they will take us to court. And the Speaker said, let them go to court if they want. Let's see what court will do. I have that on record. So I started by writing that. But, you know, there's a law. It's a Minerals Act, which is a very technical act that has been passed without enough consultations. The committee report said we didn't get enough time. So I kept writing that on Twitter. But as you know, some things will not attract as much attention. And one day I wrote about the procurement of cars irregularly at an inflated price at about $2.4 billion. And that was now the biggest story. Now, after that...
And that was factual.
Of course, very factual. I even put the invoices there on Twitter. Now, after that story, she starts to look for who gives me information. But that had been there.
She means what?
The Speaker of Parliament. And one of the people that they suspect to be giving me information was pushed out of Parliament. He was forced to ask for early retirement. But there had been a case in court to try and block his firing because they had started the process. And the case didn't go far, and he was forced to withdraw it. And because there have been those bribery allegations. Now, for a while, of course, no one wanted to associate with me in Parliament. But of course, later, the dissatisfaction and discontent with what was happening continued. And I told some of the people that I knew were sent to me by the Speaker and said, you know, you cannot gag 2,000 people. That place has 2,000 people now. She came in and recruited over 500 people with no single newspaper advertisement, as the law requires. So you have staff which is almost 1,000. You have members of Parliament who are almost 600. You have associates of members of parliament. I just wanted to emphasize the number, how the number is about. Let me just finish this point.
I thought it was fake news.
So
Even Semuju has given her his time.
So when
He's listening.
So you cannot have about 2,000 people and think you will gag all of them. They are going. Information is going to come out, and that's how I get it. I don't even have to go there. But there are people that are not happy with what is happening.
How do you verify then?
The information, I have so many sources. I get it from one, and I'm going. And yes, I am a professional. I've been telling you here that I've been a journalist
and
for,
the lawyering has helped.
And the lawyer. Yeah. So I really I love evidence a lot. So I will ask 3 other people, and I will never put out information that I cannot vouch for. Unlike other exhibitors that I am working with, who were getting in their inbox that someone in parliament writes, "We are dying, the woman can't let us talk to each other." Me, I was actually publishing documents and saying, this is what is happening, because I was getting them and verifying them, and all this has been...
So what you're saying, that it is not these monies that Semuju got in May that really were the big thing. The big things had started earlier. It's passing of laws.
Yes, my timeline has all of them from 2021, has the laws that were passed irregularly. No, many people didn't take that seriously, but it is actually a very serious matter. Later, I actually had a show on Parliament every Friday on Civic Space TV. We discussed at length how that Parliament passed the resolution to buy shares in Rocco at about 257 billion shillings. No one said yes. The Deputy Speaker, Thomas Tayeba, said that those in favor say aye, and to the contrary no, and people said no, and he said the ayes have it and ran out of Parliament. We have discussed all that. So there's all that on YouTube, which is the record that is there, that we have discussed these issues for a very long time. The exhibition, I am happy, has brought that attention that those other issues I have been raising hadn't brought. But also, Oscar, I want to say it again, that before that, I had written extensively about Parliament as someone who was whose area was primarily that even Rebecca Kadag at some point thought I was her big enemy, but Rebecca Kadag dealt with enemies differently from Anita Mung. And also the platform maybe was not very popular. People don't read 2,000 word articles in the magazines.
Say she dealt with enemies differently. I mean, they both can just kick you out of Parliament.
No, another one can also threaten to kill you. Yeah.
And just find on those threats, because we've not had Agatha Atwaire having threats, but we've had Jim Spire having threats. And also he made an allegation that there was a request to UCC and all those things. And I don't know how verified those allegations are.
Oh, so I don't know why you have not heard that I've had threats. I have a record, a report done by a CID officer, Charles Twine, about me in 2022. So after they started hounding out everyone they thought knew me, there is a CID officer who compiles a report. I have it. It's not a rumor now. That one is verified. And said, we have confirmed that this number belongs to Agatha Atwaire. We confirmed with UCC. We have also confirmed that Agatha Atwaire has a personal hatred against the institution of Parliament. And you can ask, if that is not a threat, I don't know what it is. That a CID officer is compiling details about you when you have not committed any crime. Because the information I had shared in 2022 about cars is procurement information, which the laws of this land require that you publish. Don't even wait for anyone to look for it. Publish it on your websites, publish it on your notice boards, publish it in the newspapers. Now, how a CID officer investigates me for doing my work and publishing, there is no bigger threat than that. They had wanted to arrest me then. They detained those people that I'm telling you about for no reason. And that's how some of them ended up being pushed out of Parliament. So the threats have been there on myself since 2022. they are there now. You get it in form of be careful. They are doing this. They are doing that. Some come as warning. Some come as intimidation. Some come as actual threats. But the ones on Spire now were because Kakwenza kept writing more and more. And although we never see evidence of what Kakwenza writes, some of the things he's written have actually happened. And threats, Oscar, are threats, whether they are real or perceived. You're not going to be killed first to know that this was a real threat. So threats have been on us all for a while now. Yes.
Malcolm, this is all riveting. You must thank Agatha, because it has given you time to engage with Star Cafe on a massive level. You and Semoju, the damage you have done over there as you listen to Agatha.
I am in Ramadan, so I have done.
I beg your pardon, yes. You were watching Malcolm.
So you are lying.
I beg your pardon.
Oscar, the samosas he was holding, he was passing on to me.
He was passing them, yes. I beg his pardon.
He had his fill at 4 a.m., so he's good.
I think we've been behind the news because for many of us, we got into this thing with the monies and all of that. And in fact, Semoju's revelation first came up. I don't know if you remember, Malcolm. It is not Agatha that put out Semoju's. It is the FDC is the one that put out.
And there are stories about how they accessed it.
Yeah.
Semoju will tell those ones. Semoju will tell those ones better.
But so we all along we thought it was about monies.
Yeah.
But Agatha makes a case that it is more than monies.
It is certainly more than money. The money is what has really and those amounts are really obscene. But the opulence within the institution has been there for a while. If you will recall the time the speaker rode in very posh car and MPs were there, all mouths wide open, venerating to receive their leader in a manner that really questions your faith in their ability to hold some level of accountability when it gets to the House. I think that what the monies have done have helped us crystallize what the problem is, and the problem, in my opinion, is not the person holding the office of the speaker. My opinion is that the problem is a broken system that doesn't, because when the speaker says we can pass these laws, they will pass, they can go to court, and we see what the courts will say. That confidence also comes from knowing that the courts themselves have been crippled and their ability to dispense impartial justice has been curtailed. When journalists like Agatha need access to information, which is a right of every Ugandan, public information, and that information can't be attained through legally provided for mechanisms. There are laws that provide for access to information, but to be able to access that information in Uganda, you need certain signatures from certain particular individuals. So you can't then blame them for verifying through the quiet sources and then publishing what they publish and sharing this information with Ugandans. So I think the uproar comes from the monies, which really it hits hard. It's one thing to see the numbers in Parliament grow. It's another thing to see the bills getting passed without the required kind of debate. It has happened for nearly all of them. That's just one thing to watch that happen. It's a whole other thing for an ordinary Ugandan to know that the speaker has a per diem of $4,000 per day. That's a whole other dimension now. So they can't afford a meal. They struggle to access healthcare, but the speaker gets paid $4,000. Now, she does a wonderful job in her office. She's expected to do a wonderful job in her office and supposed to be paid for that. But when you see how that is commensurate with the status of the ordinary Ugandan, and then you realize that $4,000 is is really an extreme. So it's a real commendation. Social media activism has grown. It has, and Oscar, there have been several ways in which Ugandans have shared their displeasure when, again, the formal processes seem not to work. You can't trust a police station next door to do so much for you, either because they're going to require a bribe or because things are going to go higher up. And Agatha is here with a CID report. I'm not sure what she can do with that. It seems to be a crime to hate Parliament. That is the crime that she had, which is unverifiable, but also it might also be an offense that was passed in those laws that were passed very quickly, and we don't know that it's actually an offense in this country to sit there and hate Parliament. I think you have a right to hate the Parliament if you want to. It might be unpatriotic, but that is not an offense. But what do you do with that information then? Because you know that CID officer has presented this to a particular individual who can use it as they wish. If you carry that report you can report to the police that is investigating you about an investigation on you.
But also the officer has invaded your privacy for no reason and revealed, published information about
private information. Exactly. So, but there are alternative ways that Ugandans have been trying to get information out. We all know the protests some time back that were in form of yellow pigs that were, and I remember at that point, the question was, how did these people get these pigs into Parliament? How did that happen? How creative and brazen can Ugandans be, Ugandan young people, to the point where they actually get this information in there? And I think the trend has moved from there to where we are now with these platforms providing forms of accountability to the people, since the institutions themselves are struggling to do the same.
Let's stop for a break.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Did you know?
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. We continue the discussion on Uganda Parliament exhibition. Honorable Semuju, Agatha Atohaire is here.
Who hates Parliament?
They
will make a law to make that a crime.
But Malcolm has said it might already be in existence because you have been passing some laws very quickly. So, Honorable Semuju, like I've been telling some people that your allegations came from FDC, but Agatha here says the thing is bigger than just money.
First of all, I
beg your pardon?
I am also.
I hope I get to comment about the money too later, right?
Comment now. Comment before he comes on.
Oh, before Semuju comes in?
Yes.
I am glad that the money was so outrageous that it enraged.
How can you be glad?
No, that it enraged the public to pay attention to what was happening in Parliament. Unfortunately, Semuju is part of the money scandal. And I'm going to say that... so I write about Honorable Semuju on Twitter. He said he's not on Twitter, and I think that's why he missed that. During the Mabati issues, I don't remember when that was. Must have been early last year. And I observed that Semuju would get up and say, but Madam Speaker, we cannot be sitting here with Mabati thieves. And the person he's addressing is another person who is implicated in that scandal. And I said, but at what point will Semuju say, Madam Speaker, this house cannot be chaired by someone involved in this Mabati scandal? And like
Do you think he can say it? He told us here that he cannot say it.
No, but you see, this is the Semuju of now. The Semuju we knew before would say it. We expected him to say it.
He was suspended twice from Parliament.
No. Even when he was suspended, he would come back and start from where he had stopped. And Anita Among has never suspended Semuju. So if he would still do it against the people that have suspended him, why hasn't
is Zake speaking in Parliament?
Done it?
Can Zake speak in Parliament?
Let me finish.
Yeah.
So
finish. You said yourself
that what?
People deal with enemies differently.
Oh, so you would rather you are suspended and not what? As opposed to
Let's finish off and Henry. He comes to the microphone.
So I have told you earlier that one of the people that raised a flag about the manner in which laws were being passed was Semju himself. I don't know if he remembers that. But now, time came when he was not raising anything, and he gets up and says, we are dealing with Mabati thieves here. And I asked it on Twitter, and people, of course, some were on his side saying, but that woman would never let him speak again if he said anything against her. Later, when the fights with FDC start, and that information about his travels leak, I posted it again. So this is not the first time I was posting the travel of Honorable Semju, the travel details. I posted it again, and I said, so this explains what I've been wondering about all the time.
That he also ate.
That he also gets. Now, when I was away, and when I came back, I told Patricia that I need a chance to respond to some of the things. I think Honorable Semju on this radio, but also in his articles, he accused me of many things. He first said that the document was not authentic. Later, he wrote and said, but others also have gone to Rome on taxpayers' money. And I'm thinking, we are not actually disappointed in Anita Among. We never expected any better, but we are disappointed in Semju because he has...
as a moderator, I must caution you. You have to speak well of the Speaker of Uganda.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can speak about Semju who is here.
So by speaking well, you mean I shouldn't say we are not disappointed? I am not, as a person.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, because that's my right to exercise my judgment. So... But Honorable Semju, and I am sorry I'm not good with titles, that's why I...
He doesn't mind you calling him Ibra or Semju.
Yeah, Ibra. I know it's a familiar name, Ibra. So we had expected, because he had been someone who gets up every day and says, but we cannot be living in this opulence. We have a state house that we spend on about 2 billion per day. So we expected him to act differently from others. Now, when you come and say, and his latest article was, why was Tayewa spared? And for God's sake, if I was a newspaper, I would never publish an article like that. And that's my disappointment with us journalists and newspapers, because that does not take away your liability. Tayewa being also a thief.
No.
Sorry. Being involved in corruption.
Yes.
Does not mean that it
even
takes
being
away...
involved in corruption, there's no... We like someone just said, there's not yet any report showing he's being involved in corruption.
For me, as long as, Oscar, like I've told you, I have got evidence and I have verified it and it's true. I am not going to use the word allegedly, because I know that what I have presented is true. So...
I'm just preparing space on my phone for the phone call this afternoon.
So when...
That's why whenever you say those things, I caution you.
I am sure I will not be invited here anymore, but it's okay. I'm going to use this opportunity.
No, we shall invite you regularly.
So
I just create space on my phone for the phone calls.
So when Semju says, why was Tayewa spared? I wonder, how does that exonerate you? Because you see, when you go to court, even if I went to court with Lydia and we have killed someone together, but there's evidence against me and not Lydia, Lydia cannot say, why was she... Even if he said that, it does not take away...
I see what you're saying.
Away this liability.
But this capital gang is not court, so why did you spare Honorable Tayewa?
That's what I was coming to. And that's why I said, if in court... evidence against Lydia has not surfaced, because people act on evidence. I know, and I have not spared Honorable Tayewa. My first tweet that led to people asking for the exhibition, I am the one who told people on Twitter that the commission sat in 2022 and decided to increase the per diem of the speaker from $990 to $4,000. And increased the per diem of her deputy from $990 as well to $3,500. So I know that the deputy speaker benefits as much from what is happening in Parliament as his boss. I know that this official leave we've heard about, that people go and are paid, that benefit goes to the deputy speaker as well. I have just not received these details, and there are two reasons. One is that The person that
there's a photograph on Twitter here with Semoju's ears closed and say, "This is Semoju listening to Aga."
But that is very old photograph.
Yes, it's the way people store these things and present them. They are refreshing.
Today I am listening.
So the deputy speaker, like I told you,
I'm going to stop you on that line because you haven't put those documents out yet.
Yes, I haven't got them. One of the reasons is
so
that...
don't mention what you haven't got.
No.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to tell you why. There's this intimidation that started of arresting everyone in every department that has made people not share more information. And that's why we have not even continued. And I'm not going to share what I do not have. And I have said, and I'm going to say it here, that the exhibition is for everyone. The reason we call for exhibitions is so that people who have got the information we haven't got, share it. Honorable Semoju here is welcome to be part of the exhibition and share Honorable Tayeba's details or anyone else that has got them. I, as the person who has got other documents, I have not received the ones of Honorable Taiwa. But like I've stated before, I know that he is a beneficiary.
Don't give a judgment of what you have not received.
No, yeah. I am giving a judgment from a meeting that I know happened that increased their benefits. And that's what I am saying.
Okay.
Yes.
Back to you, Honorable Semoju. Yeah. You can see why I agreed that he presents before you.
I covered Parliament for 10 years. There are aspects of Parliament that have changed, sometimes because of the change of the leadership. The Honorable James Wapakabulo used to ride in a Mercedes-Benz with a driver and a policeman, and that was it. I have written about this and I have said it. What is taking place in Parliament is a reflection of what is taking place in the country. And for me, that's the context that has been lacking in many of the... Because, as I said, I am not on social media by choice. But occasionally, information is sent to me, or my attention is drawn to reports that are on social media. So if you are going to speak about vehicles, I remember when it must have been either the last or the other Parliament, the debate in the country was that why do you give MPs 200 million shilling to buy vehicles? I actually moved the motion in Parliament proposing a zero-free, don't give anyone. So what I disagree with is that you single out Parliament and then leave out the others. And my motion was that, okay, take away vehicles from everybody. So I have covered Parliament and I have seen this growing to where we are today. A speaker in a convoy of 10 vehicles, roads being closed because the speakers are arriving at Parliament, lifts being stopped. So the context has been my argument with Agatha. So the specific issues that have been exhibited, and I didn't mention Taiwa just because I was mentioning Taiwa, because I asked, we have an exhibition ongoing, so who is exhibiting and for what purpose? Because if they are giving you information only on Anita Among, and the one of mine was old information, then I have a reason to ask as a journalist, why are you only exhibiting this particular person and don't exhibit the others? It's a legitimate question now as a reader. I am now not talking as a journalist. Because the person who is giving you information also has
gatekeepers.
And at the beginning, you presented it as if you were the one who were printing this information off the system. And you made it look like it was very easy just to go and print. And then that's why I asked in one of my articles, do you have all this information about everybody? If you have, then why are you exhibiting only 1, 2, 3? Why are you not exhibiting everybody? That's the question I was asking. And you have said clearly that the people who are volunteering information have only given you those ones. And that's why, because you need also to understand.
Let him finish.
So you need to understand that all these things that you are saying happen, or they may have happened, But there are also fights that are ongoing in all our organizations. If you see the fight in NOPS, not just because there was money about Mpuga. The fight within the NRM is not because Anita Mongo lives differently from the speaker or from any other NRM people. So that's, for me, the issue that I raised in both my articles. And then there were deliberate distortions. For example, I was being portrayed as if I went to attend 2 meetings at the same time and earned money. Yet the payment came much later for the 2 that had happened actually 4 months before. But even where money is clearly indicated that this money is deducted from SEMJU, it is being totaled up to show that, so much money was given to SEMJU. But even simple things, every MP earns an allowance, sitting allowance. I am paid as a whip of a party. I am paid money to go for field work. All that is totaled to say that, no, the reason SEMJU is not speaking about Anita Mongo, it is because of ABCD. And maybe that's the crime. As you said, for you are being now accused of hating Parliament. Maybe my crime was that I was not speaking about Anita Mongo as much as you wanted. But I must choose how I live in Parliament. You can't do that for me. You have said yourself that speakers deal with their enemies differently. So even the MPs must deal with the speakers differently. Because I was an MP under Kadaga, I am now an MP under a different speaker. So you want me to be reckless, and I cannot be. Mm-hmm. So I must.
But I want to challenge you, Honorable Senator. Are you saying to AGASHA, are you pulling a tribal card in the accusation you're making?
No, I am not, because her role in all this is exhibiting information.
Right.
She is not the one that is originating information. I am only asking the one who's originating information that she's exhibiting, why are they only providing information about some people and not others? Yet they are all accused of the same offense.
Yeah. So
that's for me is the issue. And that's why I said, you see, beyond the allegations as they are put, you must also understand that there is an objective. Why are people doing this? For what reasons? Because I did say, if you look, for example, at the money of donation, there is something that has caused much drama. Money being put on the accounts of staff. We have a budget in Uganda of 162 billion shillings for donation. Mr. Museveni alone has 137. How does Museveni withdraw that money? Does he go to the bank himself? You mean that money is not in the names of the staff of State House? So why is the country so excited that money is in the names of staff of Anita Mongo? Tayewa has a... I am telling you what happens. Yes, it is.
No,
it is not in,
Malcolm, get a pen and write down.
Withdraw. It is in the allocation that you have people who are given money for giving. For me, that is the issue. How they withdraw the money doesn't. It's not the big deal. The big deal is that you have a budget
for donation.
People who have money for donation, and they can withdraw it. So tell me, Lydia, how does Museveni withdraw money for donation?
Okay.
How does the Honorable Taiwo withdraw money?
Don't answer yet, Lydia.
How does the government chief whip withdraw that money for donation? So for me, the point is, as long as you have this money in the budget, it will be withdrawn the same way. If
for you are annoyed with the donation itself,
the money shouldn't be there at all.
Okay.
Because the withdrawing and giving it now it's dependent on who the beneficiary is. The money that Museveni carries in the sacks will be the same money that Anita Mongo will be carrying in the sacks and everybody who has it. In fact, the other day I compared when I was still chief opposition whip. I said you have a government whip who is facilitated by 8 billion, and then you have a chief opposition whip who is given nothing, and it remains the same story. You can go and ask Nambeshi.
Okay, let's pause you for now, Honorable Semuji. I'd go to Joseph. If I predict the words you're going to use, you're going to say it's all a mess.
It's not only a mess, it is criminal. And in normal times, it would call for a resignation, starting with the Speaker, and it will call for resignation that would call for possibly a dissolution of Parliament. And if it were a UPC government, I would dissolve this Parliament. I repeat, if it were a UPC government, I would dissolve this Parliament. But in any case, it goes farther and higher. Mentions have been made, it goes up to the top. And this is Mr. Museveni. I told this program before, this country is not going to change. We can talk and talk and talk, like Sbesi used to say, until cows come home. In as long as we've got this system, it is really, really sad that I hope younger people listening know that the monies that we're talking about are their monies. This would not happen under a democratic arrangement. It will not happen under a government, which it could never have happened under UPC government. It never could, and it never will happen under future UPC government. You know, we have had, that said, scandals, parliamentary scandals. Right now in South Africa, the Speaker of Parliament is accused of corruption offences, but she sort of stepped aside. That's sort of the latest. It happened in Britain, which was then called the expense scandal. And some of my colleague parliamentarians, particularly from the Conservative Party, including some from the Labour Party, were victims or were basically mentioned in this. The way systems worked, citizens responded, and many of these people were held to account in many different ways. Ironically, in the British Parliament scandal, the best performing members of parliament on this were people like my good friend Jeremy Corbyn, the lefties, the progressive left. That's why I wonder whether NRA is really a political party, presiding over this kind of criminality and plunder and the national theft of a scale that will never be known, I think, hopefully for the rest of our lives. No wonder the other day I was with my nephew who was just traveling around Kampala and was asking that within an hour he had seen pictures of Idi Amin, in 3 different vehicles, and was saying, "Uncle, what's going on?" So you can imagine if we now feel that Idi Amin is possibly a possible savior to this nation, you can see how much we've sunk. I think that this is really a manifestation of nothing else but impunity. The sack of money that Semuju is talking about, Ibrahim, my brother, when Museveni started with the sack of money, people made a fun over these things. We didn't know that it would reach the stage in which a president carries bags and sacks of money. Can you just imagine my president, the father of this nation, Dr. Milton Obote, carrying a few shillings in his left pocket or right pocket, ishing and dishing and dishing? It was not, because that is an institution and a system that works. Parliamentarians' jobs are really not to dish out money. Parliamentarians' jobs are to ensure that systems work and that they check and the other arms of government and that the appropriate monies, and make sure that monies that are supposed to go to the services, that whether it's education, health, infrastructure and other things, they appropriately apply. It's impunity because NRA knows that we can get away with it. It's an absence of leadership, and that we're not going to get from NRA. Institutions have broken down, and in any case, anyway, some of the suggestions Agatha has referred, you get allegations and you refer, including up to a CID officer, rendering these threats. Where is the judiciary in this matter? It is simply because, as I said, now we are running a system which is you have to either please my dear sister Amongi or look at Mr. Museveni, and if you think that his son is going to be CDF, you better kneel for his son, whatever he's doing, even if it's against the law. It's a total moral decay that we are facing today, and people are thieving and plundering money openly, including some of my friends who are legislators, and it's almost like as if it's business as usual. But you know what? Coming from a Dokolo and coming from a Molata and coming via Nakasongola and going via Tuboy to Soroti and returning to my place in Toro. And right now, today, I have 3 messages about people who are asking me for money because they are sick and they cannot go next to just the local medical facilities. And they think about the billions of shillings being eaten by a group of many people, some of whom the election would have been dubious elections. Yeah. It would actually call for a national revolution.
Let me stop you just now, Joseph, and squeeze in Lydia before the break. Because she has
Why are you squeezing me in?
Because you are hiding.
I'm not. Am I hiding? Why am I hiding?
Okay.
When you want to squeeze me, I'm in the studio. You are squeezing me in when I'm not squeezable.
There's a guy here, Levi Eyaru, who very rarely disagrees with Semuju. Usually disagrees with Semuju all along, but now he's saying the exhibitors of the flopped Uganda Parliament exhibition nowhere court, so they should have gone to court. Do you think this exhibition is a flop, Lydia?
Why is it a flop if it is being discussed at the gang?
No, for the first
But at least, yeah.
discussed for the first time at the Ghana.
Yeah.
So anyway, like these talk shows and the media now, people are free to give their opinion. You can as well say it's dead on arrival. It's also an opinion. But for me, because Oscar, you know very well that I'm a leader and a member of the NRM party, and we post leaders in Parliament. I am one of those that participates in this process. So if members of Parliament of NRM have not talked about this matter, or we have not called caucus or sake, really my hands are tied. I would be and my conflict of interest. I'm also a competing person, but they are. But that's also my opinion. It's also my opinion. I mean, if members of Parliament and the caucus of Parliament and sake have not discussed this matter, really, I don't have an aligned position to come and begin talking.
To defend.
So no, not to defend, even to comment. Secondly, I've said this before, it's not because of this exhibition, and somebody knows this. I've been contesting in Imbali. I'm even going to contest again. So when you begin talking about People's Parliament, those of us that have this, it is easier for Atire and Malcolm and maybe some Jews already in Parliament than people like myself. We can only request for the people that are in these positions to come up and explain so that we understand and be able to appreciate what like Semuju has done. Semuju has been able not only to speak on this show, even on TV, but even he has written. You know, it's very good to make a case and respond. Yeah. So we hope that even others can do this so that we understand where the exhibitors are coming from and where the holders of Parliament are also coming from.
That's
what I can do. And I've said this before. I've said this before, that when we have leaders in offices, even the before this current term, there used to be not only money things, that there used to be fights, no communication, people are fighting on tables. Why don't you talk? I kept asking this, why don't you talk? So I think that Semuju has made this case. Those who agree with him, that's their opinion. But many, actually, Semuju have understood when you explain things. Let others also come out and do it and explain. Because
Parliament has a communications office?
No. Well, he said that the spokesperson of Parliament is also doing his part and told us he's backing.
Yeah, the payments.
He's also doing his work. For me, where I sit, we would like to hear people make their case. Semuju has done his part. I think the spokesperson has also come out. Which is also, when you keep quiet, it becomes difficult for us to understand. And the public, I think, requires understanding.
Or when you blame
it's also a way of explaining.
No one has had that one.
So Oscar, I think also, to the best of his ability, the spokesperson of Parliament has not been quiet. He has also been able to talk. What he talks is not the issue, but at least he has been able to come out and say, the institution of Parliament does like this is what it requires. I think that people should explain this so that the public gets to know. I cannot now come here and begin taking sides or talking, because it's really, there are people to speak. Why should I speak for somebody whom God has given a chance to speak and to have positions in Parliament? Semuju, you've done your part. It does not mean that it does not mean that you are right or wrong. But yeah, my hands are tied, really.
But but he has responded.
You see now, I cannot now speak for others when they have mouths to speak.
Let's stop for a break.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM. On 91.3 Capital FM.
Well, we'll come back from the break. So, due to popular demand, and thank you, Star Cafe, due to popular demand, and I wanted to go to a different subject. Let me give 2 minutes to everyone here to close out the Parliament exhibition. Starting with you, Joseph.
I was a little bit surprised that Lydia seems to suggest that because she was a member of Parliament and an intending legislator and a senior leader, that she does not want to express her opinion on this rather outrageous national matter.
I have expressed my opinion by saying, if the allegations against a leader like Semuju has done, let them be the ones to come out and explain.
From that perspective.
Yes.
Because
that is the point.
Okay, fair enough. It was a clarification. Because regardless, this is a national crisis. And in any case, like Dokolo has shown, if it were the case that the majority of ordinary citizens of this country, Dokolo is the start. But no, on a serious note, if the majority of ordinary suffering Ugandans got to know that while they suffer, people whom they pick, particularly some people whom they pick, go to the National Assembly, led by the leaders in the National Assembly, plunder to the extremes, what they do, there would be a massive outrage. In any case, strategically, for all people who want to go to Parliament, who haven't gone to Parliament, I am here and available to give them advice. One of the things would actually be to say, well, we want to go and change Parliament. So it's actually in the interest of people who are intending to go to the National Assembly to show that they're going to do things differently from what the existing legislators are doing. So to suggest that because you want to go to the Assembly, you want to reserve your comment, I think it would be slightly much more worrying.
Okay.
No, I was saying generally, because you've clarified yourself, your position. No, the voices of the ordinary people of this country need to be heard. And at the moment, a good proportion of the legislators are not doing
the way, Joseph, you can address it is saying, since you are going back to Parliament, this is what we want you to do.
I would say so, but knowing very well that Bugisu is all going to be turning red, meaning Red Uganda People's Congress.
When I get there and allegations are made like how Semuju did, for sure I'll get on pen and respond, because that's accountability. Okay. And when you explain yourself, you are explaining yourself. I mean, like for me, with what Semuju did, I think that's the best others can do. But we should not come here to speak for them when they are able to speak. Fair enough. If they've chosen silence, we go with the silence.
Okay, so Semuju, you're on microphone now, Honorable Semuju, right. Joy in Kampala says, "I love Agatha. She has undressed Semuju." Then Dave in Mbale says, okay, Semuju went on different trips, but maybe ask him some of his trips, whether they're in order to shouldn't they be reduced on public administration? Was the ban after COVID lifted? Then Moses Berhanga has told you, Semuju, you are misleading on money for donations. At State House, when the president donates, the money is sent to the account of the institution or person it's being donated to. For instance, the president, the president donates a vehicle to the bishop like he does many times. A vehicle is bought and given to the bishop. So those were three messages that...
Maybe Moses...
Your 2 minutes now, Semuju.
Yeah. The many of the aspects that have been raised, I may not have followed each. I think Parliament has a duty to do a list of the things that have been said about Parliament, and then begin correcting them where the things that are true. Some of them may not be easy to correct, because I mean, as long as you provide money for donation, people are going to donate the way they like. Maybe, and I intend to make a proposal in the next budget, we do away with the money for donation completely, so that we don't have people picking money and donating it the way it is. But it's imperfect for Parliament to listen, because feedback is always important, and we do this work on behalf of the public. Where we have made mistakes, we should correct them. I don't see the reason why anyone in Parliament should think that Parliament is beyond criticism. This work we do on behalf of the public, where we've made a mistake, we have a duty to collectively and individually correct ourselves. Where we think we are unfairly covered, we also have a duty to come and explain, like I did. Up to now, I don't think, and the big point that Agatha makes here is that they are angry that Semuju is not doing the same things that he does. But you also need, if you come here and Oscar Semoya gives you opportunity to speak, I don't think you're going to speak about him and then you will be invited for the next program. So,
if Agatha wants to speak about me, let me switch off her microphone.
So sometimes you must understand the conditions under which we work and the decisions that we make.
Semuju, or the space I've created on my phone for the phone calls. Someone sent a message here saying, Semoya Msoke is very afraid, and I want to find it and say yes. So Malcolm, you.
Yes.
Yes, your 2 minutes.
Even when you're afraid, Oscar, it is important to still speak out. And we commend those that do. Two quick things, Oscar. One is and I think it's very sad for us to receive that message from Moses that seems to justify a CSR budget for any government institution.
Yeah.
Because private institutions can't have CSR budgets because they are purely capitalistic, profit-oriented.
But you're conflating. Moses was responding to Semuju on how the money is
I'm
received.
getting there, but it shouldn't be there. That's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be there in the first place.
And
why would the public...
Semuju has no problem with how the money is received. He has a problem, like you, with the donation
and for me, I have a problem with all of that.
With both, yeah.
I have a problem with the fact that the money is there in the first place, and also I was getting there.
And how it's distributed.
That when you have a public office that gives corporate... what is corporate? Corporate social responsibility. Is the president's office a corporation?
No.
Does it have corporate status?
No.
Why is Parliament a corporation?
No.
Why are they providing social responsibility to communities that they are already charged with providing social services to? So when you have a donation from the office of the Speaker or any other government office, even the President, to provide a health center with certain facilities which ideally should be budgeted for, how do we get to that? If
and
not
done by the Ministry of Health.
If not for the sole purpose, I think, as Semuju alludes, to sort of create this hegemonic responsibility around a particular office, and you begin to look at the persona in that office and assume that person is here to save you, and yet the budget actually should be doing that. They should be serving and not saving. That said, the processes that are followed are also very problematic. Maybe as Moses says, that for the vehicle of the bishop they pay Toyota, and Toyota delivers the vehicle. Maybe, but we also know about the sacks of money that move around, including the ones the president has been photographed close to, and I don't know how those ones get accounted for. You can't have a billion shillings withdrawn by an individual, and I also have a problem with how the Auditor General comes out and says this has been accounted for. Everything is. Because it has been accounted for doesn't make it look good. The process, the chances of that process itself, because the systems should be impervious to the people that are there. They should be functional, even when you change the people are there. So what we are doing right now is working on the faith that someone who is employed at the Parliament is going to get 1 billion shillings and is going to take it where it's supposed to go, and will come back with an accountability. I think that is too much responsibility for individual. The last bit, Oscar, is down to the whataboutism that Honorable Semuju has been peddling, really, about why focus here, why focus there. There is room for it because it is important that everyone gets a fair shake. I think that is very important. But then it also takes away from the actual issue that is actually being discussed. Because if you're pointing and saying why not him, why only me, then you're taking it away from the issues and you're making it about the individual, about the politics that's surrounding it, and yet we can all collectively condemn the issues as they are. And I think he should be able to do that in addition to asking the genuine question, why not so and so.
Agatha,
of the 2 minutes of Lydia, I have 4 altogether to respond.
May I risk having you giving last word on this topic, or will I invite Lydia to give last word?
And Oscar, I am not as pretentious as Semuju. You can be sure that the day there's anything to speak about you, I will sit here and speak it about you.
Don't worry, I will not invite you.
So
don't worry about that one.
I'm going to start with corporate social responsibility money. Like Malcolm rightly said, Parliament is not a corporate. It shouldn't have, and this budget was never there, by the way. It is a new creation of the 11th Parliament. No, but because you have been confusing donations and corporate social responsibility. So this Parliament has 2 items. The corporate social responsibility has 53 billion. 53 billion.
Then?
And then there's donations. Now, it is wrong. The donations has about 5 billion. It's both wrong to have corporate social responsibility, but also not just wrong, but criminal, like Joseph Otieno here said, to have money on the accounts of individuals according to the Public Financial Management Act. Now, when I said that in a discussion with Chris Obore said, no, it is okay for a person occupying a senior position to receive money on their accounts if they can account for it. That was not true. But also, the people that are receiving money include drivers and personal assistants. So that's wrong on both, and we are not going to pick one, to condemn one, and leave the other.
A personal assistant, maybe, but a driver.
Even drivers. And these people, that is all on record. If we will wait
because
for the report.
Because a driver, if you imagine a driver's salary, and
we will wait for the report of the Financial Intelligence Authority that has been conducting these issues. The Honorable Semju also talks about where this evidence comes from, these documents come from. Honorable Semju was a journalist, so we know. No, you are not.
Your microphone is on.
We
so
know,
continue.
we know that we have always, it's something you have to know from the start that sources have their motives. You know?
Yeah.
And you are not going to refuse to write what information you've got as long as it's right, because you're caring about the motive of the source. So you don't care about that as long as the motive does not affect the truthfulness of this
you can take the bias out of it.
For me, it's tangible information. It's not an opinion that has bias. It's objective. It's not subjective at all. So I have thought about that also, by the way, that I think the reason they have not given me information about Tayewa is because maybe the people I'm dealing with like Tayewa better than Anita Among. And that depends on personalities. Tayewa tends to be nicer to people than his boss. So I have thought that maybe that's why they have refused, because I have asked for it and I have evidence for that. But also, the other thing is that we did not write only about Honorable Anita Among. We have written about commissioners. We have written about the travels of the clerk to Parliament. I have all that on Twitter. So the information for me and the other exhibitors that we've got, we have written it. And finally, yes, is that
we are going to go to Twitter and read all this information.
I am going to ask forgiveness on my behalf and behalf of Ugandans to Honorable Semju for ever having high expectations in him. That's our only crime. Because when Semju says that we want him to be reckless, no, we don't want him to be reckless. We have seen him challenge other people. We thought he would challenge wrongs and corruption and misuse and abuse of power wherever it comes from. We are sorry we ever had those expectations in you, but maybe now we all know better. Thank you.
At least you are talking to about someone who is here.
Same way, also not writing about Tayewa. So I am also sorry.
But you don't have any proof. You don't have any proof.
I beg your pardon. Your microphone.
The same way she has not exhibited Tayewa, I am also apologizing on behalf of Uganda that we had high expectations that you will exhibit.
Is my microphone on? Because I want people to hear this. He has no proof that I have information about Tayewa and I have refused, but we have proof that he has refused to raise an issue that is in Parliament on a daily basis.
These lawyers. Let's start with you, Malcolm.
And he hasn't, by the way.
The Agatha, let's leave this. So there's one more topic for discussion. Honorable Semuju, let's leave this now and have Malcolm start at the beginning of a program, and we've lost time, and it was an interesting subject.
Yeah.
And it's good we've given it a platform. But when I looked at the whole list, I was looking for Malcolm Pamizo, Foreign Affairs, Malcolm Pamizo, advisor on Foreign Affairs. So start by congratulating Lydia, who was on the list.
Yes.
As a presidential advisor.
Blue sheet.
Let's accept to be congratulated, Lydia. Calm down. Go on, Malcolm.
Thank you, Oscar. Congratulations, Lydia, to you and the people that appeared on the blue sheet, as it is called. I was among those also looking for my name, because when I saw some of the names there, I thought, well, mine might be somewhere. And then when I saw some of the other names there, I was like, thank God my name is not there. Because this No, among the ministers, not the advisors.
Stop heckling.
Among the ministers, not the advisors. Oscar, I think that this slight amendment, as it is being referred to, has been coming, really. I'll just say three things. One, it might be an attempt to sanitize. When you see some of the names that were dropped, I don't want to go back to the Mabati saga, so I won't speak about it. But some of the names that have been dropped, you see an attempt to sanitize the quality of the people that are in there. There are some that were implicated that haven't moved an inch, so then that could dispel that very point. You also realize on further analysis that this is a further militarization of our cabinet. We already have several serving military officers who are implementing government programs through an executive, which they would be expected at one point to go against if they were defending the integrity of and sovereignty of this country. There's a reason why army officers are kept out of politics in very many places. And so this further militarization can be seen as us positioning. When you have a internal affairs minister is a general, you have both ministers actually in there. You have Works, which is a general. Now Trade is a general. The IGP is a general. Foreign Affairs is a general. You know, there's a pervasive use of the military and people with military. I don't want to quote my brother Ochieno on the NRA mentality within, but that's what seems to be growing. And the third thing I'll say is looking at some of the names. I also wonder whether it is an attempt to be responsive to some of the cries that have been coming out about the involvement of young people in politics. Maybe also they need to be a little bit more inclusive. And then you have the PLU
that's right,
heavily represented in there. Oscar, I think I still have more questions than answers after that. On
to Semoju, and Ricky on Twitter says he remembers the president said that I hear other people brought Bobby Wine into parliament and others also chose Katolu Wama to parliament, and now we have Balaam. This is on Twitter. I'm reading a tweet. So, English teacher. no, teacher of English. Yes. So on Bosamudu, but I know where you're going. You're not even going to talk about reshuffle. You'll go to the CDF.
No,
but but you can congratulate our Nyamtoro here, who has been appointed a minister.
I am Western to congratulate Lydia because presidential advisors. You remember when it started, General Sejusa and Professor Kanyamba complained that they had looked for Museveni for more than 3 months to advise and they couldn't find him. But for me, the most important thing in all this, Oscar, was the last paragraph. Museveni saying that the handing over and the taking over of office will be presided over by Salim Saleh. For me, that summarizes everything. That Museveni's son,
I had missed that.
Museveni's son is not his structure is supposed to be supervised by the Minister of Defense, but the Minister of Defense cannot preside over a function where Museveni's son is taking over the realms of that office. That it is a brother who must come and preside over.
No, it's a general. It's a retired general.
So you mean he's not Museveni's brother?
Maybe it happens to be his brother, but
you see, we are now.
I think he's coming in.
We are now fully, because this is the first time that the one who preside over a function is also part of the statement announcing changes. Because you see, it's the first time, and I have covered the military and politics for a very long time. So Museveni is no longer shy. That has evaporated. That we are under family rule, and I think his son cannot be supervised by anyone except his father. If his father is busy, then the brother, maybe the mother. So that's where we are as a country. That it must be written in the press statement announcing a cabinet change and military. That this particular function, and remember the last one, even when he was promoted as a general, it was Saleh who went to preside over. At that time, you had Mbadi as CDF. Because Saleh didn't want to salute Mbadi, so he went dressed like he was going to milk cows in those jackets of his, because he didn't want to put on uniform. If he wanted a general, he should have appeared in a uniform of a general, but he knew that the moment you appear there, you will have to salute the CDF. So he chose to go the way he did. So really, Museveni holds everybody in contempt. That you can even put that in writing. That my brother will be the one to come and preside over as my son is taking over as a. So really, for me, that is what is most significant.
Okay, Joseph, your 2 minutes.
I will give my 1 minute to my best friend in the studio today,
Lydia.
No, Lydia and Agatha, my two best friends. Sorry.
Like Semuju said, this is because I was in Dokolo. Semuju said it. What Dokolo end? Semuju was in Dokolo. So what Dokolo end?
It's extraordinary. Just as Ibrahim said, I really never knew we would reach here. But like a senior member of this regime said a few years ago, that while they were at Makerere University as little Kadogos returned to school and they were already commissioned officers, young Mr. Muhoozi was just about finding his way into the military, which obviously surprised our good brother here. Now, to the extent that Muhoozi is a general today, is something that I know people shy of talking of publicly, but it's something that people should have seen coming. That, like we guys in UPC told you, this is a military regime, and almost certainly, unfortunately, is turning into a family thing. The only way in which it's done is that rather insulting, courageous impunity, but almost quite arrogant that you could do this, make your son CDF today. In fact, I never thought I would see it this so soon. Make your brother take the position that he actually does and present it in this way. And particularly considering where we were a few months ago discussing Pilau, and whether or not these guys are breaking the law, whether or not these guys, the boys got out of hand and he's not respecting his dad. And here now Balaam, here now Lillian, here now my good young friend Nyamutoro in this combination. What is it telling the country? Okay. My shock, though, is
what
are ordinary
Ugandans
thinking about this.
Okay.
That I hand over to my fantastic sisters.
No,
you had already said Dokolo. Agatha, you have now 1 minute, because the minute he gave you, he took.
So I have 3.
He took.
So, you know what they say, that there's always room at the top? I didn't know there's also always room at the bottom. When I be thinking that this country has sunk to its lowest, I find that there's lower we can still sink. And it reminds me of how Honorable Kahindo Tafire was appearing before the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee some time back, and he asked Florence Namayanja to join NRM. And Namayanja said, I cannot join a sinking ship. And he laughed in his characteristic laugh and said, but the ship has been sinking since 1986 and it has never reached the bottom. So I don't know the bottom we are going to eventually reach, but it is sad. And it's on that note that I agree with Semuju for the first time on this show. Fish rots from the bottom. I mean, from the head. So the problem of this country is at the head. Even the reason we have corrupt people and they go and hug him and they come back and just thump is that he is the problem. He has killed institutions, and everyone waits for him to act. The IGG will not
You can
act.
see why I could not allow you to have last word.
The IGG will not act against, even in blatant, when you are showing them the evidence. The police is not acting. The DPP is not acting because they have seen some of my sources, when they saw what happened in the State House when she came back chest thumping, they said, Agatha, we are not giving you any more information. We have seen that this woman is not untouchable and she will come after us.
Thank you,
So for me,
Agatha.
I think the appointment of course, it depressed me, of his son as the commander-in-chief and his minions as ministers. It depressed me a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lydia, you have to have last word because we can't finish with Agatha's last word. and congratulations to you for making it to the blue list.
Congratulate all those who have been appointed in the new cabinet, and also those who have retained their positions as on that blue sheet. Congratulations, and make your contribution to our country. I thank you.
Thank you so much, listeners of the Capital Gang. Thank you, Star Cafe, for powering the gang. I'm Oscar Semoyamsoke, and I shall see you next week.